Welcome to the room, Mama.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to be here with you. This is highlight of my day already, and it's not even 9:30 for me.
Oh, I love it. It's always a pleasure to connect with you, and congratulations on your bundle because you are off to a really great start. We've had a lot of opt-ins already, so I'm so excited to have you on this.
Yes, thanks for so much for having me, Liz. I think, as you know, I just love connecting. And I think chatting about the real life, like the bundle's really exciting, but even just before we've gone live, we're just talking about some really hard stuff too. And I think it's just so good to open that conversation up so that people that might be starting out on this journey, right, or like that are feeling frustrated about something, know that they're not alone, because you're definitely not.
Yes. Yeah. We were having a really epic conversation. And I say that because it really is the real shit. Like, as a mom, as an entrepreneur, when you and your spouse are self-employed, if you're trying to figure it out, like while you're trying to get the business up and growing, like we've got a lot of stuff that we have to work through. There's the mindset shit that comes up. We've got actual real life finance kind of problems. Like there's a lot of things that come up that we have to work it through and overcome and just keep pushing forward, because you mentioned before we came live that there's like a mountain, but it's not exactly like a straight line. There's dips and there's ebbs and there's flows, and it's not exactly, straight to the top like we want it to be. So
Mhm.
let's talk about that a little more, because I think that this is a really good conversation for everybody to listen in on, be a little fly on the wall.
Yeah, of course. So for a bit of context, if anyone doesn't know me, and this is coming from somebody that I've been in business, I've been self-employed over a decade. I was a wedding photographer previous life. COVID happened, pivoted to an online business, have two little crazy boys, so I want to be at home with them. And so now I call myself a business coach, right? So I specialize in visibility and building your email list to be bigger than ever before. And you'd hear that and you'd think, oh, cool, she's got her shit together. She's a business coach. She doesn't have any problems. She doesn't like run into any barriers, right? But like you were just saying, like the climb to the top of where we're going, whatever that might be for you, whatever that goal is, it's never this straight easy climb. I think it's always, and even if you look at any kind of graph, right, it's always like the valleys, the dips, ups and downs and all arounds. And I think sometimes it's even just expecting that, because at the moment, so what we were talking about before we hit live is I had a launch in January for my signature program, the program that I'm like super excited about, that's can change someone's life, that can do so much for them, and no one signed up. Like, no one ever admits that out loud. So I don't know if I'm like breaking all these rules, but like no one signed up. And suddenly you question everything. And it made, because my husband and I are both self-employed, it financially, it's like, oh, okay, this isn't how I was expecting it to go. So how are we going to put food on the table? What are we going to do until I work out what the problem was, or where the barrier was? Because whilst it could be a great program and it could do so much for people, if it's not meeting people where they're at right now, then of course no one's going to sign up. So it's like, how can you brainstorm and figure that out while you're still being a responsible adult and being able to pay your bills? Like, oh, it's a little bit tricky.
Yeah, and thank you for being so vulnerable and honest about that, because you're right, like nobody ever talks about this stuff, but it's the real stuff. Like everything is feedback in this kind of entrepreneurship, like especially when you're launching new products and you're trying to get your messaging right, you're building the audience, you're, like you said, trying to meet everybody where they're at, because you know that this program's amazing. I know that it's amazing. I know that summits have the power to change everything, but other people might not be in the financial situation. They might be working two jobs as it is, just trying to pay the bills while trying to grow their business and all of these things. And sometimes we just don't have it right now, and that's just how it is. And we both relate to that feeling. But thank you for sharing that, because it's so true, because everything is feedback. So right now you're trying to figure out like what's in between, like how can you improve it? How do you, get the sales that you want? So
And
I'm
I think,
curious, what
yeah,
are
so
you figuring out? Like what are you learning like in this process?
yeah, and I think, like we were chatting about as well, for me, so I don't know if anyone's into human design, but if you are, I'm a manifesting generator, which means that I love coming up with new ideas. Like I could, if I'm in a creative space, if I'm in alignment with who I'm meant to be and with myself, I have so many ideas. And then I get excited and I birth them all, and then I'm exhausted and I kind of burn myself to the ground. And then the cycle starts again. And so it's this like, and you're very similar, I know this. So it's like
Yeah.
this crazy roller coaster. So with the whole program failure, I don't even think it's a failure, because I feel like you said, as long as you're taking data and you're learning things, and you always can just tweak and make it better next time. Exactly. But even with that, so like that is a high ticket program. So it's teaching people how to put together a summit so that they can, add hundreds of people to their email list. But it's a commitment, like it's high ticket. It runs for 15 weeks. So like somebody has to be in this perfect place, have the money, obviously, but also have the time commitment. And as busy mums, like that's a big ask. So it's been really interesting sitting back and looking objectively at that and going, okay, so if that's too big of an ask, how else can I help people in a way that might be a little bit more easy to handle, or a little bit more less of a commitment, both financially and the time piece, right? So out of that, I've been like, oh, I'm going to do, maybe I could teach bundles now, because I'm like, this bundle is off to the races and I've already learned so much. I'm like, oh, that could be something that's coming. I could do like, I've just thought of doing a visibility membership, where it's going to be like a low ticket monthly membership where we can come and just brainstorm all these different ways to get visible, because I'm so passionate about it. And I have all the ideas, right? So like, oh, that could work. So it's always like, for me, and it's a hard lesson to learn, but it's like releasing that expectation, going, okay, my plans never work out anyway. Like if I have a plan in my head, they never go to what I think. It's like, it's always going to work out the way it's going to work out. So it's like releasing that expectation, allowing myself the time to actually then be creative with maybe what else is meant to be, and know that, well, I showed up, I've created this for somebody. When the right time is right, it will serve them. But in the meantime, let's kind of be creative and come up with other things that will help financially support my family whilst, serving and building for somebody else as well. So it's and that sounds so positive. I can tell you there's been tears, there's been wine, there's been stress. Like it's not like you don't just have this like that. It's like, it's definitely a process to get to a place where you can go like, okay, this is what I might try.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you that, because I know that every time that something doesn't go the way that I anticipate it, I get really, really low, like very depressed. And it takes me a little while to work through that and come to terms and like hit myself in the face basically and go like, okay, Alyssa, like it didn't work out the way you wanted. It never ever does. So keep going. Like that's just feedback. Like just make it better, do it better. So what do you do like when you are in those low places to really try to get you out of it quicker? Like, do you surround yourself with a group of people? Like, what do you do?
Honestly, I'm still working that out. Hey, like so this launch was a week and a half ago. I feel like when it first happened, I was okay, because I've built a community of amazing women around me that a lot of them are like mindset coaches, or which is not intentional, but it's just worked out that way. So I can easily just jump on and send them a message and get that support. But for me, it actually was a bit of a delayed reaction this time, which is interesting. So it was about, it was just this last weekend. So a week after the launch didn't work, I was a mess. On Saturday, I just couldn't stop crying. Like I'd be looking at the kids and just start crying, and it was this real depressive state, which it's so hard to pull yourself out of that when you're feeling that way. I feel like for myself, I almost need to just ride it through, know that it'll pass, try to do what I need for me in that moment. So like my husband took the kids out to the beach, which I probably in hindsight should have went, because that probably would have done me the world of good, like salt water, fresh air, all of that. But at that time, I just wanted to stay at home and like get the tears out and have a quiet house and just almost just sit in it until it passed. And that for me, I had a few glasses of wine, I went to bed, I had a really early night, and I felt so much better on the Sunday. And then interestingly, I was like emotionally hungover from it. Sunday and Monday, I was just exhausted, I think, from that wave of emotion. And I had to just really listen to my body and do whatever I needed to then be where I am now. Like that was only just a few days ago. So I think it's just like being kind to yourself and almost sitting in it sometimes when you have to. I don't think it's a nice thought to be able to speed that up and get over it quicker, right? Because we want to be able to feel good again. But sometimes you can't fast forward through it. You've got to feel it, sit in it, and then move past it when your body's ready.
So true. I just went through a similar situation after my summit. I had created like, I want to call it like a membership kind of thing, but it was like a monthly like meeting. And again, same as you, nobody signed up. And I'm like, okay, well, let's restructure this. Like, how can I do this differently? I got a lot of feedback from everybody. So I was like, okay, let's make this better, make it more of what they're looking for. Because I had different topics I wanted to talk about and meet with them on Zoom like 4 times, like group kind of coaching through whatever topic and problems that they were having. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need different topics. Maybe we need to restructure this differently. But I'm glad that you brought that up, because just recently I went through a miscarriage and I was feeling that same kind of feeling that like I just felt so emotionally drained and I just needed to sit in it. And I couldn't get inspiration to even do anything other than just like sit on the couch and watch Lifetime movies, because I just needed to feel it through. And it took about probably 5 weeks before I finally felt able that I was like, okay, I can get back to work now. And whether it's life personally or something that we put on ourselves as like an expectation in business, I know that I feel really like responsible for the success of my family because my husband's working full time, and it's like I have to make this happen for him, so that he can come back in the business full time. And it's just this kind of internal battle. And I'm sure you feel it too, like especially with your kids and both of you being self-employed, like just this responsibility as moms and mompreneurs to make it happen. So thank you for sharing that, because I know it's not easy. But
yeah, of course.
You're doing amazing. And I look up to you and I love seeing everything that you're doing. And it's just, we're going to keep learning.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. Yeah, you too. I love our friendship. I think that's the most powerful thing of the whole online space is just the connection piece, right? And knowing that regardless of the challenge almost, you have people beside you that you can reach out to and just, share your heart or just cry into a voice note and then and get it out and know that you're not alone. I think that's the biggest, most empowering thing, especially as mums, especially as mompreneurs, like mums running businesses. We're a bit of a unique breed, so I think it's nice to have other women around us.
That's the most amazing thing. Like even like in the summits and the bundle and everything that we create, just being on Instagram together, like we're creating this room of people that we can surround ourselves with, that we can, like you said, send a crying voice note or a win or something to celebrate with each other, because we're all doing the same thing. Like trying to make it happen for our family, doing it with kids, and we're able to support each other in a unique way that maybe like our friends or our family or people in our inner circle probably can't relate to. So it's really amazing the way that like this is all coming together and that we're able to support each other through the highs and the lows.
Yes, definitely. And congratulations on the book. I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to see the celebration that's going to come from everyone online when it's like ready.
Me too. So exciting. I know. I'm so glad that you were able to come live with us, and thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing the real shit, because this is what I'm trying to bring out into the world, like in everything in the book and the podcast and these lives. Like we want to talk about the real things in entrepreneurship, especially when you're raising kids and you are a rock star in the field and you're just such an inspiration to everybody.
Oh, thanks so much, Liz. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, coming on here with you.
Any last advice that you can give to our listeners that tuned in today?
I think be kind to yourself. As you've heard from us, there's always ups and downs. So be kind to yourself. Maybe be a bit kinder on the expectations that you set for yourself as well. Know that you're doing a great job. Know that you are the best mum for your kids, even if you're having a shitty day. Like, I think sometimes we just put ourselves, or we hold ourselves to this really high standard, and it's just a bit crazy. So just be kind to yourself, let go of those expectations, know that you're not in it alone, and you can always reach out to us if you need another mum friend to cheer you on.
Oh, that was so good. Thank you, Kylie. And just share with everybody where they can reach out to you on Instagram and on your podcast.
Yeah, of course. So Instagram is just Kylie Kelly, and my podcast is This Mama Means Business. So much like Liz, it's very real conversations, as you can tell. 2 episodes a week, and I'd love you to listen.
Yay! Thanks again for coming on, Kylie.
Thanks for having me.